This episode of After Dark is brought to you by Netflix. For a free 30-day trial, head on over to netflix.com/GamebreakerTV. What's up, everybody? I'm Mike Shafton. Welcome to After Dark, episode 27 for April 9th, 2013. I ate some cheesecake over the weekend. I gained a few pounds, but I'm here. Seriously, what's up, everybody? It's Gary again. I'm filling in for Mike Shafton. He's a little under the weather today, so filling in his shoes is Josh Allen and his hair. Are you Rubik's cubing it up? Like, wow, is that what you're doing? Like, I see you staring.
Sorry, I was playing a game on my iPad.
You really can't stop playing a game for like 30 freaking seconds. Like, we're doing an intro of a show, and I just see him like staring there. Like,
I don't know what you're talking about. All I got to do is I got to play these cards, man.
You're not a gamer.
I got to put those. All right, fine.
God damn it. Stop playing the damn games. I guess it's a live call-in show where people call in, ask about games and shit like that. Anything happen?
That's why I have to. That's why I have to keep the
games.
The game handy.
The games.
Yeah, just in case their questions are boring.
Are we going to talk about like Monopoly, or what are we going to talk about? Risk?
I never really liked Risk very much.
What?
Mostly because I'm bad at it. Pretty much entirely because I'm bad at it.
God, you got to get the Game of Thrones board game. It's like Risk on steroids. You'd hate it even more. Could you imagine Josh Allen on steroids? Dude, you should start lifting. You should take roids and lift. You'd be like The Rock.
Great advice. I should just take roids and lift. No problem. I'll get right on that.
Gamer workout with Josh Allen. Watch as he loses and bulks up. All right, so this is a live video call-in show every Tuesday. Mike Shafton and Josh Allen. I'm sitting in, shooting the breeze. So let's open up the lines and talk to our first caller. Hello, what's your name and where are you from?
Hey, Gary, it's Rich from Breckenridge calling again.
Rich from Breckenridge. How are you, sir?
All right, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. What's your question?
Well, the first question, just the question would be, after all your years of gaming, how do you stay excited for games? Especially since you guys play far more games than the average person. I mean, you have to sample and try this and so on and so forth. Do you ever start to feel rather jaded? I know I do, where you look at a game and go, that's another this, that's another that, I've had enough of that, so on and so forth.
So it's wearing on you a bit. Playing the old games are wearing on you. You're just getting kind of jaded and bummed out. Here's a little secret, a little pro tip from somebody, having to talk about this all the time. Just don't play them.
No, I don't even have a World of Warcraft character.
Not for me.
No, serious.
You guys have to do it.
Yes, we do have to do it. I'm gonna let you go because you got a bad connection there. But how do you stay fresh and like games? It's kind of weird. I don't really know an exact answer. It's probably it's a really good question, but the whole online thing, the virtual world thing, always kind of fascinated me a lot, and it kind of intrigues me. And it makes me want to talk to people about games, sometimes more so than even play a lot of them. Because a lot of the games can be shit, right? But I can have a great conversation about it. And we could talk about like some mechanic or something that devs kind of put together. I think that fascinates me actually more. And it's like almost you look at things, Josh, I feel like on a very like microscopic level where you kind of like dig down deep and go very analytical and stuff. And I kind of look at things much more macro and like kind of pull back a little bit. But I mean, there are a lot of bad games out there. I don't know. I switch it up though too. I've been playing a lot of single player games. I've gotten away from MMOs quite a bit. I needed a break, kind of had burnout, and I started playing a ton of single player games, and kind of gives you a little break. Then you can kind of recharge the batteries and get back into the next MMO.
Yeah, and it's one of the really nice things I think about the gaming industry as a whole is that it's an industry that's defined by innovation, meaning that when a game comes out and it's just really, really good, it's fun to play. Like I just played Tomb Raider. I could not put it down. I knew it was going to be one of those games that I couldn't put down, so I ended up taking some time off this weekend. I said, all right, you know what? I'm going to play Tomb Raider. I'm going to just deal with that. And I ended up playing through the game. It got like my first playthrough, something like 85% complete. Took me about 9 hours to actually finish the thing, and that was just one sitting. I could not put it down because the game was just so well done and so fresh and so exciting that I just constantly I was like, okay, I gotta see what's next. I gotta see what's next. I was like, should I get up and get something to eat? No, I'll starve to death. I've got to get through this next section here.
What did you think about the cutscenes and stuff? A lot of people had problems with cutscenes. I'm still in the middle of it, so no spoilers. Don't spoil any of the Tomb Raider stuff for me because I'm playing it as well, but I haven't finished it. But I didn't mind the cutscenes. People were freaking out about the cutscenes and how it kind of felt like all of a sudden, the computer sort of takes over and you're not really in control of Lara and things like that. But I didn't mind it.
There is once or twice in Tomb Raider where I got to a point where I was like, oh, I can control my character again, and I'd like die, and I'd be like, oh, I was supposed to do something there. Whoops, because it is very smooth. It moves into the cutscenes and then it moves back out sometimes. Sometimes I just didn't realize that I was supposed to be controlling the character again. For the most part, I thought it was pretty decent the way it was done. It was certainly a lot better than we've seen in similar titles in the like. It certainly didn't go to the degree of the game is playing itself for you. I felt like sure there were moments that maybe could have been done in gameplay instead of in a cutscene, but for the most part, it felt pretty good. I don't know. I liked it quite a bit. And that's just one example of a game. Like Bioshock Infinite is another one that I need to get to.
Oh my god!
Because I've heard nothing but good things out of that from everyone except Mike B, aka Phony, who is incapable of reviewing a game without finding something wrong with it. That's what he does. But I feel like
I can find. I'm not finished with it. I'm like. I would say probably about like 85% almost finished with it. I can find a little bit wrong with it, but very little. God damn, the game is amazing. The game is amazing.
Well, and even in Mike's BFF report, he says that the game is really, really good. So if it gets the Mike B stamp of approval, then I'm all over that. I just have to actually have time to get to it. But I think that's part of the big thing that, I don't know, I guess keeps me motivated in playing games is because like, it's almost because I play so many games is what keeps me motivated to play new ones. Because I have the philosophy that if there's a game that I'm excited for and I can't wait to play it, I will go and I will play that game. And if I don't like it, I'll stop playing it. And that's just kind of a cost that I've come to, like even the games that I'm not necessarily playing for like content that I'm creating or anything like that. It's just sort of a cost that I've come to accept is that sometimes I'm going to buy a game and sometimes I'm not going to like it. But I still buy more games and play them anyway. Like it's just I just keep buying games because I'm always looking forward to something new. I'm always going, oh, this new game is going to come out.
You know what I do sometimes?
Well, exciting.
To try and keep it fresh, obviously, definitely. If it's I should have asked if you're kind of in a slump with MMOs, especially because I think a lot of MMO players, maybe sometimes a lot of MMO players tend to just stick with MMOs and they get kind of burnt out a little bit on that, but they don't like delve into some other like genres. But I gotta say, like. New games like, there's fantastic games like coming out like Bioshock Infinite and things like that and Tomb Raider. Awesome. What I'll do also sometimes in like lulls, especially if I'm just kind of burnt out a little bit on the MMO thing and I'm feeling like, oh my God, there's nothing good. I'll kind of go back and do a little bit of research and find some other games that I may have missed along the way that I haven't played before. So I recently went back and again, most of these are going to be singles or indies and things like that. And a lot of times you can pick them up just so damn cheap on Steam, right? It's like I picked up like Siberia for like $2. Something else. And then Spec Ops The Line, right? Another one that just kind of like flew over the radar. Didn't really want to pick it up when it was $60, but it was like, I think 12. And I was like, yeah, I'm totally going to try this and had a great time with it. So I think maybe sometimes also maybe research and go on some sites and look up some maybe even reviews and kind of just see maybe what people aren't like super hot on right this second. See what people were super hot on like 7-8 months ago when you were like, knee deep in Guild Wars 2 or World of Warcraft and you just like lost sight of anything that was coming out. Maybe you weren't paying attention. You maybe missed a few good games that are now probably like dirt cheap. Pick those dammies up.
Yeah, for sure.
All right, let's take another call. That's what we do on a call-in show, right? Take calls with a bad Skype connection. Caller, what is your name and where are you from? Hello?
I don't think we actually have a. I don't think we actually have a caller at the moment.
Is there a human on the line?
Oh,
Is
hello?
there? Hello. What is your name? Where are you from?
Rick from Texas.
Rick. Rick. Say Rick.
Yeah, man. Hey, Lore. Hey, new guy.
Hey, yeah, I am. How? What part of Texas you from, new guy?
Not the part getting Google Fiber. I'll tell you that right now.
Damn straight. Definitely by the sound of your connection, bro. You definitely don't have Google Fiber.
Yeah, I wish I could get it.
What's your question, bro?
So you heard about this Microsoft guy going on Twitter, telling people to deal with it about the always on DRM. So what do you guys think about the new Xbox rumors and everything seems to be adding up true that it's going to be always on and DLC everywhere?
So the question is, what do you think about this guy on Twitter about the Microsoft 720 possibly being online all the time, DRM, and somehow DLC everywhere? I don't know if DLC everywhere comes. I don't know where that was kind of thrown in, but I sort of feel like the caller may have been interjecting that a little bit, possibly DLC everywhere. I don't know if that's the
Well, there's a
tagline.
couple of publishers that have said stuff along those lines. I haven't heard anything directly from like Microsoft saying that every title is going to have DLC, but there's certainly like I know EA and I think there's a couple other publishers now that have come out and said, yeah, no, we're going to have DLC for every single title going forward.
Here's the thing: are you? Am I crazy that I'm not against the 720 being online all the time? And here's why. So I think what everybody thinks about right away, hear me out. I think what everybody thinks about as soon as they hear this is Era 37 debacle with Diablo 3, SimCity debacle. Those are individual game issues. Those are not like service issues with the internet. Your computer's online all day. Your computer's connected all the time. How often do you go down online on the internet? How often does it really happen? Not much.
It doesn't happen much, but when it does happen, it's infuriating.
Sure. No doubt. But still, like, how often does that happen anymore? Like, I don't ever go down online.
I do. My internet goes out. It's because I'm in an old house with old connections to old poles and old places out there. So my internet will just up and drop sometimes, and it'll be gone for like 20 or 30 minutes. And if I'm playing a multiplayer game, I just expect that it's going to go offline. But if I'm sitting here playing like Tomb Raider or something, and my connection drops out, and I lose what I was doing in that game, I'm going to be pretty upset about that. I don't know. I feel like it's technology. Okay, let me put it this way. I feel like it's technology that will at some point work. The always online thing will at some point be okay. I just don't know that we're quite there yet. And I think it is kind of frustrating, especially for maybe there's not a lot of people that have constant net connection issues anymore, but it is something that people still have. It is, we aren't quite yet to the point where everyone is just always on, like absolutely everyone is just always online all the time. And it can be very, very frustrating to be in that position and just sort of get left behind as everybody else moves on without you. It might be it might just be something where you have to tell those people, okay, listen, you need to join the 21st century. We've had internet access that's mostly stable for a long time now, but there are still a lot of people in that position. So I don't know. I do think that it's something that, like I say, it will work at some point, and I don't have a problem with it in theory, like in concept. I don't have a problem with always online stuff. I just don't, because I'm an MMO gamer, right? I'm used to always online.
But there's always going to be somebody out there that the technology is not ready for. Like, even when it's ready, there's always going to be somebody out there going like, but my internet connection drops, is not ready. I mean, they have to push the technology forward to the point that we know consoles are going to go completely digital. Like, we're going to get rid of discs. We're going to get rid of the hardware media format of a DVD. It's going to go to streaming. You're going to stream games straight to your Xbox. You're going to play them. It's going to save your save files probably in the cloud. They'll probably get rid of, internal hard drives at that point. Like, all of those things will come, but they can't flip the switch completely in one game cycle, right? They can't shut off the 360, turn on the 720, and it be completely everything. So I feel like this is like a first step. It's like, hey, it's going to always be online. I don't even know. Maybe we'll still have a hard drive, right? You're still going to have media that you can buy in the store. They'll start mixing in more downloadable content to get you used to that whole idea of downloading stuff. And then maybe the next version of the Xbox is like, get rid of the media. I think they have to do this in stages and steps.
Yeah, I think, like I said, I think it's, by the way, I think Kara's trying to get in touch with you in the chat. in hip chat. But yeah, I think it definitely is something that, like I say, it's something that eventually the technology will be there. I'm just wondering if we're there yet at this point. If we are already at the point where it's acceptable to do stuff like that. It might even be something where maybe it's just something that, like, things like this need to start happening so that more people start taking their connections more seriously, so that, like, maybe technology just will never advance to that point if we don't start needing it. Necessity is the mother of invention and all that. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe this is how this is just going to have to play out. It's just a question of how is it going to work out to the end user. And I do think, I see people talking about this in the chat room as well, I do think that it just feels exceedingly lame when you have a single player game. Like, if I, like, again, Tomb Raider, if I'm playing Tomb Raider and my internet connection goes out, so I lose my progress in the game or something like that, that just feels stupid and arbitrary. That's just like, okay, the only reason you want me to stay connected is so I can constantly be proving that I actually purchased this game, which is frustrating for the people that actually purchased the game and not a thing to the people who haven't. That sort of thing is obnoxious. But I don't know. I do think it does concern me a little bit, I guess, is a good way to put it. I'm not convinced that it's bad. I'm not convinced that it's good. It's just something that I'm kind of hesitant about at this point.
And we don't have all the tech specs on, like, the 720, so we don't know how it works. And I'm just gonna play devil's advocate. I mean, who knows, right? Let's just say, for instance, I could be wrong, but let's say it's got, cloud storage, but with limited sort of like RAM-esque memory built into it, where there's a chip that saves your save file locally for a period of like a buffer before it goes to the cloud. And if you lose your connection, somehow it knows to save it in that save area or something and not lose something like that. They could build something like that. I don't know if that's possible, like if they're doing that, but I don't know. I feel like at some point when they make these transitions, there are always going to be people who are not happy with them. And I mean, they've got to push the technology probably forward a little bit quicker than a lot of people would feel comfortable with. But the industry moves so fast and it's changing so fast. And you see, like, with PC games and Steam just like taking such a huge foothold in the PC gaming market, they see the same thing happening. It happened with music. It's going to happen with games.
And I guess looking back through history, if we'd waited around for everybody to have a DVD player before we started releasing movies on DVD, then...
And CD, right? I'll go back even that far. Go back to
CDs.
see, like, when DVDs first came out, it was like this foreign thing. Like, nobody had them. You had to, like, make sure that, they had to do all the PR and convince people to go out and spend the money to buy them. But yeah, you're absolutely right. There's always going to be that, like, kind of period where it's a little bit uncomfortable to kind of adapt to a new format or just new technology. All right, let's take a quick Twitter question. I really want to answer this one. Question is, how will the Zillin OP debacle affect other streamers? Sorry, I don't have your name, but have you seen this asshat, Zillin OP? So this is the guy that he's a Diablo 3 streamer who said he was in a wheelchair.
Oh, I heard about that. Yeah,
he was in it, and he was accepting donations while he was live streaming, and he would accept donations and basically left his camera on, and guess what, peeps? Yep, you guessed it. The man just got up and walked away. Just got up out of the wheelchair and was like, well, I gotta get me a sandwich. Damn, I'm hungry. Wow, these legs all of a sudden just work. I'm hungry. I gotta get a sandwich.
Listen,
what
maybe
an
sometimes the desire for a sandwich is enough to cure a poor man's ailing. Like, no,
it's like a miracle.
It's absolutely.
Oh my God, the sandwich will just knock your legs back into play. Go. Oh my God. So we posted this thing. It blew up all over the place. It was huge. We posted it. He immediately pulls down his Twitter account, I think his Facebook, like all kinds of his social media, his live stream page, right? Everything just goes away. Like, he just like completely just nukes all of it. And then somewhere, I don't know where it is, but I think he had the balls to actually go out and be like, nobody saw it, but I kind of got out of the wheelchair and fell. Seriously?
I think obviously this is the case of someone who thought he could. This is the case of someone dumb who thought he could get away with something and was too dumb to actually pull it off. I think that's kind of obvious at this point. The thing that sort of concerns me about this is that Okay, so the internet loves to feel like it can accomplish things, right? Because things will happen like, oh, the whole uprising against the SOPA Act a while ago, or like it was I don't remember her name right now, but the girl from Extra Credits who had an injury and was never going to be able to draw again, but a whole bunch of people raised some money so she was able to get the surgery that she needed. You always hear about these sort of uplifting stories, and everyone's like, yeah, we've got to do something right for somebody. And so the internet over the years has been proving itself as a force to be reckoned with, and someone is always going to try and direct that force in a direction. This is why, nowadays especially, people will tweet at me all the time, like, hey, have you seen this new bill? You need to spread the word about this new bill. Or have you heard about this thing over here? This thing you need to be spreading the word about. And I'm always going, okay, I need to know more about this.
You have to be careful about that stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, you've got to research stuff like that. And in cases like this with this streamer even, things can get down to that, you'll see, obviously this guy is taking it to an extreme degree, but even in smaller cases, you see all the time where somebody will be streaming and they'll be like, I need money to buy a new computer. Their stream looks fine, but they'll be like, I need money to buy a new computer, and they just never quite manage to get enough money to buy that new computer. And this will go on for months, where they're like, oh, I got $500 this month. Thank you so much, guys. Oh, I still can't afford that new
computer. Still can't get that new computer.
Hopefully with another $5,000, I'll be able to get it. And people... It's something like I have a donation link on my Twitch page, but I'm trying to be really clear about it. It's like, this is just a tip jar. That's all I have it there for. Is if you feel like throwing me something, cool. If not, whatever. Doesn't bother me at all. But it's become something where a lot of streamers have recognized that donations can be a semi-significant source of income for them, especially if you're one of the smaller channels where you're not getting as much ad revenue or something like that. And it's something that they'll try to entice people into donating as much as possisple, and that'll be things
by faking being disabled.
Yeah, well, I mean, obviously that's an extreme example, but it gets into even smaller stuff, like I need to buy a new computer, or this is my terrible mouse that I'm using. I would like to buy a better one. Please give me $50 so I can buy a new mouse, and 20 people will give them $50, and I really need that new mouse. It's ridiculous how much I need this new. It's a widespread thing. It's just a lot of people do stuff like that.
I'm not against anybody making money on the internet, and especially with live streaming, creating content. If people are enjoying the content and they want to give some money, and even if they are making a little bit more money, so be it. Like, that person's trying to make a living, trying to make ends meet. Times are tough. But how do you live with yourself when you go and get a wheelchair and sit in that thing? And who knows now if that beard was fake? It looks kind of fake to me. I'm not so sure. I don't even know if the guy... I'll be honest with you. I swear to God, I'll be honest with you. I immediately called our attorneys and I was like, can we start a class action lawsuit against this guy? Like, can I was absolutely serious. I was infuriated. I was like, how does this dude live with himself? Like, he clearly got up and walked away. Can we do this? Our attorneys, unfortunately, clued me in and said, not unless you're going to basically pay the entire bill, which is going to cost probably tens, if not hundreds of thousands of dollars to basically get back from him. Maybe, I don't know what he ever made, like $10,000. So we can't do it, unfortunately. But I seriously, I don't know. I just don't know how people can live with yourself like doing something like this. Look, everybody wants to make money. There's nothing wrong with making a business. You want to make streaming a business, but really being disabled, pulling the disabled card, next you're going to be like, my mom's got cancer. Like, next it's going to be like, really? Like, you're that much of a scum of the earth that you're just going to be like that much of a douchebag that you would just do anything for a buck?
And the worst part of this whole story is now there's going to be some other guy who actually is disabled and actually does need help, and people are going to be like, prove it.
Yeah, they're going to question it. Be like, hey, post your medical records down at the bottom of the Twitch stream now so we can actually see what the doctors told us you had. I don't know. Yeah, exactly. Hopefully this guy never shows his face again. And if anybody figures out who he is, they should, I don't know, punch him.
Yeah. It's one of the terrible, depraved bits of humanity.
It's despicable. I mean, people do this all the time. People have been scamming people forever. It's like the age-old thing. There's been con artists and swindles forever. So there's no reason it's not going to exist on the internet as well. But I guess when it's in our backyard, in our sort of like group of gamers, it's just disgusting. Just disgusting. All right. I'll take another question. I screwed up the last question. That wasn't really a Twitter question. I just stole somebody's live question. What is your name and where are you from?
Well, first off, I want to compliment the connection's a little choppy. So I'm having a hard time hearing you. So if you hear a little bit of echo, it's coming from my speakers. so I can hear the stream.
We can hear you loud and clear. It's perfect. It's like you're sitting right next to me.
Sorry, I'll adjust that.
What's your
There we
name?
go. It is actually Chaos Infinitium, the guy who sent in the tip about Zillion OP.
Yeah, I stole your question by accident. I didn't realize that was a question. I thought it was a Twitter question. My apologies, but you have a follow-up to this. What did you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, actually, it is. And you guys were kind of Twitch, you know, way too.
All right. We're going to have to let my man go. And if we want to get that question, somebody can pass it to me. I will gladly bring that one back up because I want to talk more about that D-bag, but I could not hear you, sir. So I will definitely, this will definitely be a Twitter question. This is definitely from Twitter. From Mr. Hansen. Why do people continue to play MMOs if the activities they do only cause them to rage and complain? Is this gaming addiction? Why, Josh? Why? Why do you rage and complain and just keep on playing?
I think a huge part of the raging and complaining about games is because it's something that people enjoy and something happens that they're unsure about or they actually just don't like, and so they feel very passionate about it. So they're like, no, I want this game to be perfect, and I'm now extremely angry about that. And a lot of people will then convince themselves that the game is terrible when the whole reason they were upset about that is because they like the game to begin with. In terms of gaming addiction, I always kind of have to kind of, I don't know, make faces whenever people talk about gaming addiction, because it's obviously true, but it's something that a lot of people misunderstand, I think. I hold the belief that anything enjoyable can be addictive. Anything that you like doing can be fun. A lot of people like eating. They get addicted to it, they become obese. A lot of people like sleeping. They stay in bed all day, they become lethargic. Like, anything that there is a line between addiction and just plain enjoying something and having self-control problems. And I think there's certainly a type of game that has more addictive qualities to it than others, and MMORPGs are certainly a part of that. But that's part of why we started to see MMORPG mechanics sort of starting to show up in other games. Like, oh, now when you play a first-person shooter, you unlock something. So now we have a progression system in this first-person shooter and so on. I don't know. I just really think it's something that people enjoy progress. People enjoy, like in that specific example, people enjoy accomplishing something. They enjoy feeling like they did something today. And so that's why they enjoy playing those games. It's not that, there's some sort of like chemical imbalance that happens when you gain experience points or something like that. No, it's just you feel like you accomplished something, so you want to do it some more. I think there's certainly cases where people do become addicted to video games, and those are certainly serious cases and need to be handled. Like the kinds of situations where people are dying in net cafes in Korea and stuff like that. That's obviously an extreme case of video game addiction. But when we're talking about video game addiction, I feel like a lot of times people just say, my friend plays this game all day, he's clearly addicted. Because, God forbid, maybe he just likes doing it. Maybe he just enjoys it. I don't know. I'm always just skeptical when I hear about gaming addiction, just because there are a lot of cases where people just misunderstand
and a lot of other things. It's like it's odd in a sense, right? But a lot of the things like you said that do become addictions, like eating, things like that, are all looked at as like, oh my god, they really have a problem. And I guess gaming should be looked at the same way. And there's definitely, there are gamers out there who are definitely addicted. I think going back to Hansen's question here, that they're not maybe totally just they're not related in any way. I mean, I think let's take the first part of the question: why people keep playing MMOs and why they rage and complain. Right? Does that mean they're addicted? No. What I think it means, sure, some of them are, of course, but I find that and this is what always fascinated, going back to like what fascinated me most about the MMO industry and MMOs in general and social things that are social and have that virtual reality world, is that it's this all-encompassing need to sort of absorb as much of the game in the world. A lot of the MMO players have. I forget who actually called it this initially. I stole it from somebody else, but they called it the hobbyist mentality. And it's like most players, when they get into something like World of Warcraft, like they don't just like, there's a lot of people who do play casually, but a lot of people who play MMOs get into everything about the MMO. They get into the books and the lore, and they collect the collectible trading card game, and they you know, but it's like a hobbyist. They want to, and they just want that. Like they want this one game, and for the most part, no, Gamebreaker, we have a lot of MMO players like myself who jump and play a lot of different games. But for the most part, I think the core is like people who really just want to play one game. So they rage and complain because they're passionate about the game, right? They've spent a lot of time in the game. They've read a lot about the game. They collect shit about the game, and they care about the game. Is why they're raging and complaining. Why do they continue to keep playing it? Because they love the game, but they're just super passionate. Whereas a lot of other gamers on consoles and first person, not to say that they're not passionate, it's a little bit different. A lot of times, you know, you buy one of those games, you play them for a while, you're like, oh, this game kind of sucks. You put your rage to your friends just like you do, and you complain just like you would, but you move on and you buy something else. Whereas, you know, World of Warcraft, you're not moving on, you're not buying something else. You're just going to keep raging and complaining until patch 5.3 hits. So it's like, it's just this constant cycle because you're kind of like, you know, playing the same game over and over and over and over and over. Gaming addiction does scare me. I don't know if it's fair to say that the MMO genre has more addicts than other genres. I feel like, I don't even want to say that. I feel like there might be, because I feel like there are a lot of mechanics in MMOs in general that do feed that addiction, very much like gambling does and slot machines, and like there are a lot of those mechanisms built into MMOs that I don't think we saw. But
just one more dungeon, just one more boss.
We didn't see that as much before MMOs kind of existed. And like you said, you're seeing FPS and shooters and things adopt a lot of those things because they realize how much they do grab people. And you could call them sticky, or you could call them addictive, whatever word you want to use. One's nice, one's dark. But they do. They have those qualities. They have that, you know, I just want to keep going.
And I do think that's something that can be addictive, but I think it's all too, I don't know. I think it's all too easy to pass it off as being addicted to the video game when in fact it's just the lack of self-control of the person who's actually doing it. There are points where you just need to step back and say, okay, listen, this is ruining my life. I need to stop playing this game anymore.
Regardless of whether the game has those components or not, a person who lacks the self-control to be able to step away and just walk away, they're an addict.
Yeah,
and if it's affecting your life,
I guess you could say it that way. Yeah, they are addicted to that at that point. I'm hesitant to call that a problem with it. Like the reason that I don't like calling it gaming addiction necessarily is, well,
see, I don't know.
I'm arguing semantics with myself in my head.
Well, I'm
not.
Now. Well, here's the thing: is like I don't know if you're working it out, but like I'm not pointing the finger at developers and saying like they're the problem, like they're building these these addictive mechanics into their game. Because no, for the majority of people out there, they do have the self-control. They can walk away. They can go have like a normal life. So that's not the norm, but they do build those systems. But I'm not blaming them. I'm not saying like, you know, that's like saying like, let's go gun manufacturers because somebody got shot. Like, no, the gun didn't just like sporadically go off. Like somebody put it in their hand and shot somebody.
Yeah. I do think, well, it is kind of interesting too, looking at how things have sort of progressed over the years. I think MMOs have the stigma of being the addictive game because the addictive genre, because they were one of the first to really hit on that sense that people do actually kind of like to work. Like you remember, 20 years ago, games were all about just finding a way to waste some time that was maybe a little bit more interesting than watching TV. That was what, Sonic the Hedgehog and all that stuff. That was all about just being able to sit back and go, yeah, whatever. I played this game for a little while because I was bored, and this was a way for me to no longer be bored. And as time sort of went on, people started to realize, and developers started to realize, that sometimes people want to feel like they're accomplishing something. And that's where the MMORPG really started to come in, was with games like EverQuest, aka Never Rest, where you were just constantly going, oh no, I need to do this. I need to do a little bit. Yeah, exactly. It was like, I need just a little bit more. I need a little bit more. The first time I ever played an MMORPG was Anarchy Online. I was terrible. Like, I had no idea what I was doing at all. I spent so much time dead in that game, or recovering from resurrection sickness, because it had a death penalty. Recovering from resurrection sickness, I would just sit there for like 15 minutes, just sitting there staring at my bar and watching my res timer tick down, because I was like, well, as soon as this is done, then I'll be able to try again, and if I can kill that thing, then maybe eventually I'll level up. And once I level up, then I won't die as much anymore, and I won't have to sit here waiting around anymore. So this is great. I think that was one of the first genres to really hit on that idea. And as we have started to see that now move out into other games, like we see things like League of Legends. People say, I just want to play one more game because I want to earn some more IP so that I can buy that next champion. or Call of Duty, so on.
And here what ties into that is that what game developers have figured out in this space especially is they've figured out how to make the never-ending treadmill, right? Like before MMOs, like MMOs don't have endings, right? I saw somebody in chat room mention that, and that's a very big part of it, is they don't have a finite ending. And why that's super important to understand is because before that, and most like, games that have a story or single player campaign, you could even be addicted to that Sonic the Hedgehog game, right? And play like every level and be like, holy crap, I didn't leave my house, I haven't showered, and I just played this entire game and I beat it. But you know what? When you beat it, you finished it. And you for most people at that point, you probably broke that Pavlovian like feeding system that you did. This happens a lot on Farmville. So there's almost something interesting about Farmville is Farmville has a ton of super addictive qualities to it, right? And it got a lot of people addicted to doing their farms. And what would happen is Farmville actually started finding out that people weren't exactly sure why they were playing Farmville at that point, but what they found is that when people would go on vacation or take an extended period of time away where they left their house for 3, 4, 5 days a week, right? When they came back home, that's when they questioned and they probably never really went back to Farmville. And they lost a lot of people when they would go on vacations and stuff. And it was really only because they broke the habit. And that's the thing with MMOs is it's very hard to break the habit because the habit doesn't necessarily end. The habit just keeps going and going and going. Like there's no ending. If you had an ending and you killed a big boss and the story was over and you saw the credits, you'd be like, sense of relief. Wow, I can move on. All right, let's see what other game is out there next month. Not with MMOs, right?
Daily quests, World of Warcraft daily quests. I did them like on 3 characters every single day. Like after 5.2 dropped, I was doing the Isle of Thunder daily quests on 3 characters every single day. And then I went out of town for a weekend. Have not done a daily since I've gotten back. Just haven't done them. Just like I don't actually feel like doing that.
You broke the cycle, sir. All right, let's go back to the phones. What is your name and where are you from?
I don't think we have callers. Looking in hip chat.
Hello, do we have a caller? Ooh, is this some new is this some new dubstep like sci-fi aliens thing? Wow. Wow, 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 wow. All right, I'm going to go to another Twitter question. This might be the night of Twitter questions. Nick G. I knew this question was going to happen, Josh. You know I'm filling in for Mike Shaffnet. You know this was going to get asked. I got to answer it. Does Gary like or hate cheesecake? So can you explain to me the cheesecake thing, first of all? Like what the whole... I don't watch After Dark. I have no idea about this show. So
It mostly just comes down to many of us in the Gamebreaker community are concerned for Mike Shaffnet's health because he apparently hates all forms of food. Just doesn't he doesn't eat anything.
He really does. He eats Skittles and like
and cheesecake was just the one that everyone sort of rallied behind because it was like, oh, I don't really it started out simple. It was like, oh, I don't really like, I don't know, it was like waffles or something, and people were like, oh, yeah, I guess you could not like waffles, but still like pancakes or something like that. Then it moved on to I don't really like, I don't even remember off the top of it. I don't really like tacos or something like that. And then people were like, well, that's kind of weird, but I don't know, maybe he's just not into spicy food. And then he was like, also I don't like cheesecake. And everyone just went, what? How can you not like cheesecake? What? I don't. So that's sort of. It was just. It was.
Now I don't know if I want to even talk about this because now I feel like I'm like treading like sacred ground on Team Cheesecake, and I don't know if I want to take that away from Shaft. That's like the thing. I don't know if I'm going to answer that. We'll have to wait maybe till the end of the show. I don't know. Maybe I'm just going to move on. Let's see. Peter, the Ashbringer 23 says. Do you think that role players who immerse themselves in themselves fully in game can better understand it and review it better than the rest?
Certainly elements of the game that someone who really gets into that side of the game.
But that's a really open-ended question. That's like
it's like saying,
oh, if you're an RP, if I go and chat and I'm like, yar, I'm all of a sudden a game reviewer. Like, no.
Yeah, well, and like. There's plenty of elements of a game. Like take World of Warcraft as an example. I have done incredibly light RP in the past, mostly because I was on an RP PvP server for a while because it was like I'm gonna go where all the mature people are.
You hit Gold Shard, didn't you?
Different.
You hit Gold Shard, didn't you?
No,
come on.
I did hit Goldshire a few times, but that was to kill everyone there. So
come on. You had an alliance character at one point. You went to see what's going on in Goldshire. Yeah, you did.
listen, sometimes the curiosity just gets the better of
Hey,
you. Listen,
hey.
sometimes just Google image searching for that sort of thing doesn't cut it. But no, anyway.
I've gone into Second Life for some light RP, as Josh puts it.
I played Second Life for all of about 10 minutes, and it was so weird I couldn't go back. It was like this is just entirely too foreign to me. I can't do that. But no, it's something where certainly the story aspect of the game is something that someone who's into RP is going to just naturally be a lot more familiar with. They're going to be more naturally inclined to investigate that sort of stuff. They're like, oh, I need to understand the story behind this character, the story behind that character, so that it can tie into my character, and so on and so forth from there. That's certainly something that RP will help a lot with sort of motivating players into getting into that sort of thing. Is an RPer a better hardcore raider than a non-RPer? I wouldn't say there's any particular reason to feel that way. I don't know why. Are they going to be better at PvP? Are they going to be better at first-person shooters? Like, is there a Call of Duty RP community? That would be interesting.
Yeah, I agree. I don't think being an RPer gives you, no better understanding of the game, or make you review it any better than somebody else. I think it makes you aware and sort of experience a different part of the game that a lot of other people may not experience. But how often do you even see that kind of come into play in review? I mean, you see like, when they did the Mr. Pandaria review, they didn't have an RP section of the review being like, oh, the RP is great.
Well, and that's something that, like, the RP community inside of a game, like, there's very, very, they exist, but there's very, very few games that push the RP side of things as part of their major billing. So is it really fair to, in a review for a game, turn around and say, well, this game isn't very good because the RP isn't very good? If it's like Pac-Man or something, like, okay, sure, great. The RP wasn't very good in the game that wasn't trying to be an RP. I don't know. I have a lot of respect for the RP community. That's not something that I'm a part of at all. I have respect for the type of people that are into that. But I don't think that almost the way maybe I'm reading into the Twitter question a little bit, but I don't think that being an RPer makes you a better gamer by any sense of the imagination.
But damn, RPing and Pac-Man, that shit was fun as a kid. I used to just walk around like waka, eating them ghosts, wishing I had a chat to type in. Waka.
Mm-hmm. I would RP as a pellet.
What is RP light? You RP light, because I think I kind of done the same thing. Like I never spoken like old English or anything like that. But in back in Star Wars Galaxies, I had like this really old dude character, but I just kind of had like a backstory in the back of my head about like what this guy would do and why he was there, and that kind of like drove me to make different decisions on certain things. But I didn't like speak in like Star Wars speak.
Yeah, all I've really ever done is like I said, I was on an RP PvP server for a while on my Warlock, and it was just something where, as I was just wandering around in the world, every once in a while I would bump into people who were doing, like, I bumped into a rogue at one point who was charging a fee to get on the Zeppelin. I traded him 10 copper. I didn't care. It was like, whatever. I was like, I'll let him have, like, I guess I'm just a nice person.
So you played into the RP. You're like, all right, that's cool.
Yeah.
We used to do the same stuff. Like, people be like, you cannot pass this area without paying a toll. I'm like, that's pretty awesome. They're like creating, because I always looked at it as like, what, those dudes are like creating content. Like those were like, they would have had to hire like, develop NPCs, but these guys are just like randomly like being bandits. I'm like, all right, sir, here's some gold. Here's some credits.
Yeah, it was mostly just if someone else was RPing and they were doing it in a way that then involved me, I wouldn't like turn at them, look at them, and go, "You're playing a video game, nerd. Get out of your mother's basement." No, I wouldn't do anything like that. I was like, "Yeah, whatever. Yeah, I'm a warlock. Listen, scary demons and stuff. I'm not very good
warlock.
at this."
Internet dragons. Let's do this. All right, let's try. I'm going to attempt another call. I'm a little scared, but let's try it. Do we have a caller? Do we have a name? Do you have a location? Have aliens abducted you?
Hello?
Oh, hello. Hello.
Hello? Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. What is your name, sir?
Okay, this is Eduardo from Mexico.
Eduardo. You called in when I'm on the show. How are you, sir? How are you, Eduardo? We can hear you. I hear some aliens in the background, but we're all good. Don't get abducted. How are you, brother?
I'm fine. How are you guys?
We're doing fantastic. It's so much better now that you called in.
Yeah, so I have a question for today.
How's the weather been in Mexico?
A little rainy.
Yeah?
And mostly moisty and hot.
Moisty. I hate it when it's moisty. Get some baby powder. It'll help a lot. I was right near the Mexican border like less than 48 hours ago, like a stone's throw in San Diego, right by the border. See, now I'm talking to him. I'm going to screw it. I'm going to screw it. Eduardo, get your question in before the aliens abduct you. We have to.
Okay. So, do you like it when games have a ton of features, or do you prefer to play a game that is focused on one feature and it does it very well and refined? Like, for example, the Assassin's Creed series, they have had like a sprinkle of tower defense, like a half-ass crafting system, or like a multiplayer mode that no one cares about. And then we have Bioshock Infinite, which is a linear game that tells a very good story, and it's amazing, and it feels very polished and very refined. And I usually prefer to play games that do one thing and do it right.
Really good question.
What do you guys think about that?
I'm gonna have to agree with Eduardo. So I definitely will get. So I'm kind of like a two-sided coin with this thing. So first of all, I wish I had a beer right now. Josh just teased me with that.
I saw you switched away from me for half a second, so I was like,
I know,
finally,
but then
I can take a drink.
did, but then I wanted to talk to you.
Everyone, look.
No, go ahead. I wanted to talk to you because I feel like this is so we're talking to each other. So I needed you there. I gotta go with Eduardo here. I think I'll always opt for a game that really is fine-tuned and focused on a specific thing and can kind of do something just really amazing, right? Bioshock Infinite, great example of it. It's like it's not doing anything other than like tell an amazing story and really it's a pretty solid shooter. But what's weird, I don't know about you, what do you think? When it comes to MMOs though, I actually like MMOs that are kind of granular and have a lot of like systems and things that I don't understand and take me time to figure out, which for the most part end up kind of being not great MMOs sometimes because they try and jam so much into it. So I guess it's kind of for different genres. I actually like different things. I don't tend to love MMOs that are very simple and simplistic and do one single thing. I usually like them that have like kind of all different mechanics and crafting and this, that, and the other thing that take me days or weeks to like figure out. What about you?
Yeah, no, I'm kind of the same way. Sometimes I like games that are really, really complex. Sometimes I like games that are really, really simple. Let me think of it. Okay, here's a good example. Torchlight 2, dungeon crawler, action RPG. Pretty simple. Lots of fun. Path of Exile, dungeon crawler, action RPG. Ludicrously complex. Lots of fun. Like I just like it's almost kind of like I don't really have much of a preference between like a really simplistic game or a really complex game as long as it's done well. Like one thing Eduardo was talking about was like, okay, Assassin's Creed, it kind of had a little bit of this and a little bit of that, and it was always just kind of there in some senses. It's like, okay, the stealth action gameplay was what made Assassin's Creed so much fun, but for whatever reason they felt the need to start packing this extra stuff in there, and that to me is kind of like, I don't like the extra stuff. I like the stealth action gameplay, and I kind of wish that the series had stuck to just being really, really good stealth action gameplay. With the exploration and stuff too, because the exploration was also really good. It's just kind of something where I feel like, almost like we just don't notice the extra features that are just kind of tacked on unless they feel tacked on. If it's something that feel like, Bioshock Infinite is a game that you both just kind of mentioned as one that does one thing and does it really well. But there's a lot going on in that game. You've got the upgrades that you can get. You've got the different like spells and stuff you can do. You get currency. You buy stuff. There's the story aspect of it. There's a lot of stuff going on in that game. It's just all done so well and tied into the main premise
It
so
feels
well.
it feels so
you don't really
tight.
notice it.
It feels like this
Exactly.
is one cohesive package. You're not pointing out any of the specific things. You usually only point them out and feel like they're all disjointed when they're not done really well. And that's when you're like, oh, why did they throw this like wacky tower defense like thing in? Well, if it was done really well and it was awesome and you left that experience going like, that was cool, you would have just been like, that was part of the package.
Yeah. But then at the same time, we have things like MMORPGs. Like we have the Worlds of Warcraft, the theme park MMOs, where we've got arenas, we've got battlegrounds, we've got raids, we've got friggin' pet battles. Like, we've got all these different things that are going on, and none of them are really directly connected to each other. There's little, like, bits and pieces that might bleed over, but they're mostly separated. And it's something that people just kind of go, well, you know, I don't do this 70% of the game, but the 30% that remains over here is what I do in World of Warcraft. And it's just kind of, I don't know, I think it's interesting. It's almost like MMOs just sort of get away with that, because it's something that in an MMORPG, you're kind of buying into the world more than anything else. You're kind of buying into, there's this environment, and there's a bunch of stuff for me to do in this. Maybe I'm into some of it, maybe I'm not. Whereas in a single-player game like an Assassin's Creed or a Bioshock or something like that, if there's content in the game and you don't like it, you feel like, well, why did they bother putting that in this game? That's stupid. I hate that that's there because I don't ever want to mess with it or something like that. So yeah, I think it's just kind of when it's done well, you don't notice it. And certainly there's games too that are just ridiculously simple that still end up being very, very fun. Like Trials Evolution at its core is relatively simple. It's just hard. So it ends up being a lot of fun.
What about games that kind of like pack on other things, like systems that may be fun and may be kind of intricate, but like maybe they don't need to be there? Like let's say a crafting system in a lot of games, like a lot of like single player games, they'll put like some kind of not super robust crafting, but you know, something where you can do a lot of upgrades and things like that. But you could probably get through the game without going through all of that stuff. Do you kind of bypass a lot of that stuff? I'm much more of a story player, and I tend to kind of don't get sidetracked, especially in open world kind of games. I usually figure out the main story path and I kind of stick to it. And I usually end up getting weapons and gear and things like that through my progression, but I don't spend like incredible amounts of time like trying to figure out how to upgrade and make this perfect sword or this perfect gun thing. Like I just kind of like bypass all that stuff.
Here's a quick list of several games I've never completed. Fallout 3, Fallout 3 New Vegas, Oblivion, Morrowind, Skyrim,
all of those,
Grand
okay.
Theft Auto. Yeah, like all these open world games where there's so much stuff for you to do that it's like, it's not that I don't like the game. I friggin' loved Skyrim. I loved Fallout 3. Like, these are great games that I really, really enjoyed my time with. I just played them until I got bored and then stopped playing them. Like, I put probably about 80 hours into Skyrim at this point. I've just never actually gotten around to finishing it because there's so much stuff you can do in that game that I get distracted, and eventually I go, you know, I don't really feel like playing Skyrim anymore. I'm just not going to do it. So yeah, no, it's definitely something where I do feel like I'm a very story-based. In fact, one of my big issues with Guild Wars 2 was the fact that I couldn't just do my character's story. I had to go out and do this other stuff because I was interested in the character's story, and I didn't want to be drawn away from it. But yeah, I don't know. It's definitely something that I feel like you can enjoy a game without having experienced all of it. But I certainly notice when there's a whole bunch of extra stuff in a game that doesn't really feel like it should be there.
You got to play the Bioshock Infinite, brother. You got to play Bioshock
I
Infinite.
have to. The only reason that I have not played Infinite yet is because I know that as soon as I download that, as soon like I get it off the Steam, I'm just that's it. That's my next 2 days is Bioshock Infinite. So I have too much other stuff I have to get done right now.
All right, Josh has too much other stuff to do. So we got one more caller. Let's try it again. What is your name and where are you from?
Hello.
Hello. Hello.
Oh,
Hello.
okay.
What is your name, sir?
My name is Dan Costelli, from Bellingham, Washington. I called here before, and I was
You got the
just
wrong
wondering...
number. Call back tomorrow.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I'll go back. All right. So I was wondering, do you guys think we'll see Legacy of the Void, the StarCraft expansion, faster than Heart of the Swarm because that was a 3-year gap. And my favorite race is Protoss out of like any game ever. And I don't think I can wait another 3 years. And
Dad can't wait. What do you think, Josh Allen? Legacy of the Void, we gonna see it?
I think we'll certainly see it at BlizzCon this year. I hope that it comes out faster than 3 years. But at the same time, I kind of felt like from the esports scene, the time that Wings of Liberty had to really, really develop, it was just starting to hit that point where it was starting to maybe stagnate a little bit when Heart of the Swarm released. So I kind of feel like that was a good, like, it's good to allow an esport to sit and breathe for a long period of time. So as much as I really want to get into the Protoss story, I really want to finish up the StarCraft 2 like trilogy and everything. I want to get in there. I want to know what the heck wow, I cannot believe I just blinked on his name. Zeratul. What the heck has he been up to this whole time? Why is he poking people in all these different directions? What's up with I'm not going to say the name of what I was about to say because that would be a Heart of the Swarm spoiler. So out of
What's
respect
up with that?
out of the
What's up with
respect
that?
for the terrible people that have not yet finished Heart of the Swarm, I won't say that. But I want to know what's going on. But at the same time, I also want, like, Heart of the Swarm is amazing for an esport. Like, it's such a massive improvement over Wings of Liberty, which was already amazing. It's hard for me to really contain how excited I am for Heart of the Swarm as an esport. I want to see that do really well, and I want to see it get the time that it deserves as a solid esport. So I'm kind of either way on it. I want to know the story, but I don't want something new to come along and be like, oh yeah, Heart of the Swarm, that was amazing 6 months. You know, like that was really, really good for that year that we had Heart of the Swarm before Legacy of the Void came out. I don't know. I'm kind of torn, I think.
And then, you know, they could just come out with Legacy of the Void and screw it all up like Blizzard usually does. Sarcasm.
Wow.
Sarcasm.
Wow.
Sarcasm.
Wow.
That was sarcasm. Sarcasm. Josh Allen, a.k.a. Lore. Follow him on the Twitter at Devolore, DEVOLORE. Go over to tankspot.com. Check that out. Check out the weekly Mario PSD and all his other amazing work over on the Tank Spot. Devolore.
I promise I'm finally getting another weekly Marmot out this week. It's been like a million years since I managed to get one out.
He's
so
promising.
It's happening.
It's happening.
Yeah,
it's happening.
like
He's promising.
Tomorrow.
You can follow me at Gary again and follow Gamebreaker TV, and come over. We do the show live every single Tuesday at 9:30, where you call in, get your questions ready for next week. Hopefully, Mr. Mike Shavin will be back in the chair. Have a great week. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next week on some more After Dark.
Cheesecake, yes or no?
No.